Okay, welcome back to another episode of Psychonaut Sessions, everyone. I am your host, Daniel Mueller, and I am sitting here with and I don't hope I don't embarrass you, man, but this is not hyperbole either. My most favorite artist that I know of right now, Matt Lesniewski. Matt Lesniewski.
You haven't seen enough.
No, I've seen a lot.
Thanks for that, though. That means a lot.
I really mean it. And if I pulled my wife in here from the other room, she would attest to it. When I met you at Planet Comic Con last September or August, was it?
It was. It might have been September.
Yeah.
Can't remember.
Yeah, you were the main thing on the list to go see. You were like top of the list, and you were immediately who we were trying to find.
A lot of pressure. And
it's not pressure at all. You're just great. You're awesome as you are. So I mean, just to run off, down here I've got Eisner-nominated The Freak. Amazing work. Static from Dark Horse, Crimson Flower from Dark Horse. I may not know the full gamut of some of the other independent work that you've gone through, and we can get into that because part of this too is just kind of, instead of doing a deep internet search, which I don't have time for, is like, I can get to know Matt a little bit more and his background and history. So we're just going to work while I try to ask questions, but not in a grilling way.
Okay. I'm going to try to answer while attempting to work as well.
We'll try to work. Got to work on something easy.
Yeah. Just doing outlines so I don't have to do too much decision making or what texture am I going to use here? What lighting am I going to do?
Right.
But as far as other stuff I've done, those are definitely the main, as of right now, what's out there. But before The Freak, that was actually my first published work. Everything before that was like self-published. And I would just I basically put everything on my website that I had at the time, and I would just put it on there digitally. Obviously not physically. I'm not physically putting it online, but yeah, right. I just put it on there for free and just try to get anyone to see it, thinking, I don't have an audience. No one knows my work. I just need to get it out there.
Right.
So I did that for years, and I think they got rid of it with the Comixology Submit.
Okay.
Kind of anyone could just upload their comic on there. I had stuff on there, but I guess that's gone. Like I did. I've done other comics by myself, other ones with writers. I've done a bunch of pitches that didn't go anywhere. So some of it's not even out there. Like there's one 3-issue mini-series I did that never saw the light of day. And I'm actually pretty glad. Actually, I'm gonna show this. This is a panel. I don't know if you can see it.
A little bit. Oh, there we go. Oh, wow.
This is nice. a page from the comic, and I'm just using it now as like scrap paper.
Oh my God.
Because I just like, this is the Strathmore
Bristol.
300. Yeah. I just like working on this, but I don't want to buy new paper for just scrap stuff. So I'm using the backs of that comic.
Oh my God.
Like thumbnails and stuff.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because I've gone to other papers, but then I have to keep adjusting. Like, oh, this is a little bit more rough, or
right.
I'm like, I just love this paper. Let me do this. And I'll
Right.
just use old. This is from like 2016, so I don't really mind.
Yeah, but somewhere you have fanboys like me that are like, all that Matt original art.
I have more. I could just give you one at some point, but yeah, it's.
Well, can you
there's
take it
stuff-
back a little bit further? So can you take it back to little boy Matt? Like where, like, you know, where like your main influences were, like, were you immediately always a comic nerd, or did you kind of come into the game a little bit late and comics just happened to fit your artistic palette? Did you have other influences?
Well, they were always around because my dad had a collection, and so I don't remember getting into them. They were just always around, and then I quickly got a bunch of my own. But then probably around middle school, I fell out of it. Like I was still drawing, but comics specifically, I guess I just lost interest, or I got into other things. And then probably after high school, like a year or two after that, I got back into it. And then that's also the time when I'm like, let me try to really like break into comics. Let me try to, because I was always drawing, and that was always like, that was my one skill in life. Like that's my one thing I could maybe do something with outside of just working for Lowe's, which I actually did that for like 4 years.
Yeah.
But, I'm like, this is my one potential, like maybe I could do something with this. And then I kind of rediscovered comics, and I'm like, oh yeah, I love these things. And but then outside of that, as far as influences, like even in the times when I wasn't reading comics, I was always drawing in school. Like I'd be the one kid, like that's how I'd get attention.
Yep.
Honestly, so it was a positive. It was never a thing that was shunned or like, you know, oh, why are you doing that? Like even teachers, they'd be like, oh wow, you're pretty good at this. Like you're better than some of the other kids. Like, everybody draws, especially in school. But
Yep.
Even the art teacher, I can't remember her name, and I hate that, but she was the coolest teacher because she would just let me do, because as the year would go on, it'd be like, all right, now we're doing sculpting, now we're doing painting, and I'd be kind of a jerk looking back on it and be like, I don't want to do that. I just want to draw. I'd have my binder. It should be filled with notes. It's just filled with like Bic pen drawings. And she's, after a certain amount of time, she's like, you know what? Just draw. At least you're doing art. Just fine.
Go.
Like half the classes, I'd just be doing that and like not taking notes, and you know, didn't have the best grades because of that. But in the long term, it was practice. I was practicing the whole time.
Right.
So, yeah, I was just constantly drawing. I was really into cartoons. Always watching cartoons. I feel like that definitely influenced a lot of my style, or like certain things I think you're influenced by and you don't realize it.
Right.
So I'm sure even today, like the way I exaggerate certain things, some of that is coming from, it's not just comics or, you know.
Of course. So like, what were your major hits in terms of influences? Like Thunder, or, you know, like what were you into?
As far as cartoons,
comics, whatever. Like what were some of the things that you kept leaning
Dragon
back
Ball
on?
Z was a huge one.
Really?
Huge.
I have never gotten into Dragon Ball Z, and everybody's told me I need to. I just haven't like taken the dive yet. So,
I mean, I remember it was probably I know it was second grade to like maybe fifth grade. Every kid was into Dragon Ball Z. And then there'd even be times when you could just do whatever you wanted and people were drawing. And they're like, hey, can you draw me a Vegeta? Can you draw me different characters from the show? Like, I'm telling you, I remember it clear as day. Everyone was watching the show, and then in school, we'd be just drawing the characters. So there's no doubt in my mind that's playing some role in the stuff I do now. Like,
of course.
So that was a huge one. Nickelodeon, just whatever was on Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network. Like,
Yep.
It was just always on. As far as comics, see, I didn't even know it was good. Like, that's one thing I find interesting. Like maybe I just didn't know. Like, now I can kind of recognize, like, oh yeah, this is a good comic. This is, or at least to me. It seems like some people, they think back and somehow they were able to tell at such a young age, like, this is good, this sucks, and you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I hear that all the time, like, oh, Preacher, I knew. Maybe you knew, but like, I'm sure there was a bunch of junk you picked up too and didn't.
Oh, of course.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, like a ton of my. I remember talking to someone earlier on another session, Eli Schwab, and I was talking about having to go through a comic purge at one point in time in my life because I was like not doing very well financially. I had to get rid of a bunch of my old comics, that whole thing. Yeah. And I told him it's like really easy though for me to get that collection back because it was just all like 25-cent bin crap anyway. I mean,
exactly.
And not that I wasn't into some mainstream stuff, but yeah, it's really hard for me to pinpoint what it is exactly the kind of stuff that I actually do like, because it's just, it could be total crap to some people.
Right. But I mostly had back then, it was like, back when I was really young, it was mostly all DC stuff. Like, and I wasn't even like a DC guy or like, some people are like that, but it's just what I happen to have. Right.
Did you have a comic shop, or were you just all, was it all like grocery store?
Yeah, there was a few around actually, but we didn't go all the time. It was only like maybe 2 times a year. Mm-hmm. And then maybe on like birthdays or Christmas, I'd get some.
Right. I think since you're saying Dragon Ball Z, when I think you're probably a little bit younger than me.
29.
Yeah, just a little bit younger than me. I could be your dad almost, man. Young Matt is working at Lowe's. So where was the leap? What was the thing that got you from Lowe's to finally making your first submission? Did you go to art school or anything like that, or try college out? Like, what was that journey like? And what area are you in, by the way?
I'm in upstate New York.
Okay.
No college, because, well,
good for
multiple reasons, but
yeah, good for you.
When did I first submit or like try to break in or whatever?
Yeah, and what was the crux? What got you to finally just doing it?
Oh, actually before Lowe's, it was UPS. Oh. But I was the driver helper / load up the trucks.
Yep.
Like, there'd be a belt and just all the packages are coming and that was horrible. I hated that. I wasn't fit for that. Like, it just wasn't. But
not your cake.
No, definitely not. Like, I always had in the back of my head, I'm like, one day it's going to be, I could do something with this drawing thing if I just commit to it. But even then, I didn't have any real, like, discipline with it or barely any work ethic. Like, I would just do, just one day, I don't remember because it was so long ago when I first, it had to have been, it's when I was like, I don't know, maybe 19, 20. Something like that. But then I just, back then, I don't know if they still do it, but it was like on certain websites, even the smaller indie ones, it would just say, here's our submission guidelines, draw 5 pages of a made up scenario, and mail it in. And I would do that for years and nothing. The only thing I'd get is just sometimes they'd send a thing back and they would just say, cool, but just keep going. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have it. Like, or maybe there's some promise, but no. And I just, maybe 2 or 3 years, I just kept doing that and nothing was happening. And then, and as the years went on, I kept branching out to different approaches, different ways of trying to get a foot in some way. And at that time, it was, I wasn't writing yet. I wasn't writing any of my own comics. I was just trying to do the penciler thing.
Right.
I'm just going to be a penciler. And so then I reached out to other like aspiring creators who are writing, and then I do pitches with them. And so I do like, you know, another 5 pages with them. We'd both email it, pay a colorist, pay a letterer. And again, it just kept going and going and going. Nothing's happening really. But then eventually I tried writing because I always viewed myself as like, I'm not a real writer. I'm the artist. Let me stick to that. Let me stick to what I'm like best at. But then I branched out again. I'm like, let me just try this. Let me just try 3 pages. And then I did that. It wasn't good, but at least I did it. And I proved to myself, okay, I did that, but hang on, I think there's more to this 3 pages. And then I made a 1 shot. And then that was on the Comixology, but it's not there anymore.
Okay.
I don't think. I guess it's gone. I don't know. But then from there, each one I would submit to. I would submit that to any company to see like, hey, I just did this. Now I did this. Like, and there'd be little false hopes along the way. Like sometimes one company would get back to me, like, and they'd say, okay, this is actually you're getting better. I remember you from, and who knows if that was even true, and then maybe that editor would leave. So then I'd be like, oh, that door's shut. Or I'd do that and they'd say, hey, this is looking kind of promising, but still we're going to pass. Let me know if you have anything in the future. And as you know, this stuff takes forever.
Yeah.
So like a year later, I might send it to the same email and they didn't remember me.
Right, of course.
So I'd be like, hey, I don't know if you remember me from a year ago, but I'm one of thousands of artists, I imagine, sending you stuff. Do you remember me? Anyways, here's my new thing. And then they just wouldn't get back. And this is like over I don't know, not 10 year, definitely not 10 years, but it would be, I don't know, 6 to 7 year thing where I just keep doing this until I get to the freak. And that's the one that finally I got the one yes. And that kind of
Ad House, no less. Right.
So that kind of led to other things. So
how was the
freak? That's the story.
how is the freak experience? Like what? Okay, so first of all, if anybody who's watching or listening, if you have not checked out Nat's work, it is the reason why I love it so much. It's so unique, so distinct. I can't find in my head anything that exists that looks like your stuff. Again, not to make you feel uncomfortable or wiggle in your seat.
Oh, it's too late.
The freak is even more distinct from even some of your other stuff like Crimson Flower and Static, because there's absolutely no shading in this book at all. Yeah. None. And it's just all line work, and it's incredibly detailed, incredibly eccentric, and it does have a cartoonish vibe to it, this sort of animated feel, as all of your work does. So where did the influence of that come from, and what was your influence for the freak in general?
Well, the lack of shading is just because I didn't know how to do it. So I'm like, even up until then, even as a kid, and I'm like doodling in my binder or whatever I'm doing, I never did shading because I'm like, I don't know how to do this, so let me just pretend like it doesn't exist, and I'll just focus on the shapes.
That's awesome.
And yeah, like that's the truth. And then with the whole like part of with the whole a lot of people can compare that one in particular to Jeff Darrow, like what he does.
Yeah, I can see that.
I completely get that.
Yeah,
it's not actually a direct influence. What it is I would find any way that I could kind of, do the extra work in my head. Like, all right, we're walking into a store here. In the scene, there's shelves full of food. Let me really go the extra mile and draw the labels on each can of oatmeal. Let me draw each into, like, it's more so that, like, I was when I went to do that book, I'm like, something changed in my mindset. I'm like, no excuses. I'm going to do whatever I can to make this to where people might not necessarily like it. Even if it's not their cup of tea, they're going to have to respect it. Like, they're going to have to see, whoa, he really went the extra mile with a lot of this. So that's what, it kind of influenced the style in that way at the time. Whereas now, I kind of still do that in other ways, but that's part of why it turned out that way back then. If I look back on it, it wasn't really a style thing. It was more of a, let me really, go all out and make this everything I can make it to show, like I said, even if you don't like it, it's going to get people's attention.
Right.
They're going to see, like, whoa, he really drew every little pebble on the street. He drew in this crowd, you could see in the distance, there's people back there. Like, don't just phone it in. And like I said, something, because for years I've been getting denied. Something like snapped almost, where I'm like, no, they're going to see this. Somebody's going to see this. Even if it's one yes, that's all I need. And that kind of influenced the style to, it was already heading down that path, but once I got to that book, it was a choice. It was a choice to do that. And over time, it's kind of evolved in different ways, but people just see the end result. They see, oh, you drew it like this. Jeff Darrow, he does that, so must be.
Yeah.
No, you don't know the story. Like, I like his work. Yeah. I totally, like, he's amazing, but it wasn't a direct, like, oh, I'm in. Like, I hear interviews all the time of other artists, and they're like, oh, I like this artist, so I started to draw like him. I tried to do what he did, and then over time, it turns into their own thing.
Right.
I hear that story all the time. To me, I'm always like, I don't want to look like anyone else. That's a clear copy. Why would I want to be a copy of someone else?
Right.
If you're unique, that'll make you stand out also. So let me put in the extra work that maybe the other 1,000 artists submitting to X company aren't going to do.
Right.
And then also let me try to, if I can, be myself. Don't try to, if I feel myself trending toward a style that's already established, try to not do that. Try to steer away from that and, keyword try. Everyone's influenced.
Sure.
Nothing's completely original, but
right.
At least that's what I'm thinking about.
And you also did it in such a way that, like, for me personally, when I'm tried to get as detailed as you got in the Freak, there's a certain level of dimensionality that gets lost in the image, and you succeeded, man. Like, you did.
I don't know about that.
You did really well. Well, you were okay. It blows me away because you say that this is your first published work and it was nominated for an Eisner.
Yeah, it still doesn't make sense.
How did you? What was the experience like finally getting that out at Ad House? I mean, it obviously was some sort of a game changer for you, and then like you made the leap from Ad House to Dark Horse. So how did that happen, and what was that whole transition experience like?
Well, it wasn't an overnight like oh, that came out and then Dark Horse is knocking. Like, not
right.
At all. I almost actually, it was a year. No, not even a year. Maybe 6 months later, I started working on Static. And again, there was no, I'm just making this because I want to make it. And I almost yet again, I was pitching it out there and no one's wanting it. And I'm like, I was even debating, in my head, it started floating around like, that might be it for me. Like, no one's wanting this. I might have to just either set this aside and try something else, or back to lows it is. Or,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It really, there was like a month or two where I'm like, I don't know maybe I'm in the wrong field. Like, maybe and this is before the Eisner thing. So once that happened, I do have to say, like, that in some way in my head, it was like, all right, I'm not completely crazy here.
Right.
Like, because all these years, like I said, the journey, it's been a long journey and no sign of, am I just insane? Like, why am I still doing this? But once that happened, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
Well, part of why this was being denied is that it was too outside of what they usually expect as far as like format. Like, I wanted to do, and again, I think maybe if you're, more famous, or you have a big success story behind you, you could call the shots a little more, or
right.
or you can kind of. I'm not there yet. I'm nowhere near that. So I feel lucky that anything happens at this point. But like, I wanted to do really long issues to where it would be like maybe 2 to 3 panels a page, so that you're turning the page pretty quickly. Whereas Static, it's the opposite. It's like a lot of panels, so you're probably spending a little bit more time per page. So this would be the opposite. It would be, you'd really see the art because there's big panels, and you'd be turning the pages more. So I wanted more pages, but that's too weird. It's too outside the norm, which is 20 to 22 pages and, I don't know, 5 panels usually. And I was like, maybe black and white. I was throwing out too many weird different things. That's my guess as to why it was being turned down. So then I don't know if this is even interesting, but so then I set it aside. I'm like, well, I guess this isn't happening, or maybe I'll do it on my own on the side, or I don't know, who knows. And then I thought I was doing something else that fell through. Then I'm like, all right, now what? Then I went back to this. I'm like, let me retool this. Let me make it fit into more of what they might be looking for. Edit it in a way that it fits more of the standard 22 pages or something like that. And luckily that worked. So
I like that you're trying to push the envelope. I mean, I remember when I talked to Rick Veitch for a while last year, and he recounted a conversation that he had with Will Eisner that was like, where Eisner said that, you guys need to, you younger people coming into the industry, like you guys really need to find a way to, push this industry in new and different ways. Otherwise the industry, it's just going to get stagnant, and we're going to get into a rut. And so do whatever you can to push the envelope. And
I don't know, when was that?
Well, it was a long time ago. I mean, Eisner was still alive.
Right.
But
that kind of goes against everything I've kind of experienced lately.
Well, it goes against especially the kind of paradigm that we're into, where there's definitely like an algorithm as to, like a formula as to what creates a success, whether it's in movies or books or what. Because I write as well, and I have some. That's the only place where I'm officially published is in the book industry, and there's definitely a specific formula that you have to follow in order to appeal to the numbers that they need in order to have their return and to have a success. And I can imagine the comic industry is even more constrained. That's why, I mean, I tried submitting a couple of times, but I just, I was like, I already work full time, and I'm a dad. I have a family. I don't have the time to try to do this like I could have when I was 20. So I'm just like, I'll just go the self-publishing route. There's plenty of avenues to do that. I would love to get picked up someday, but it's just there's, especially in the comic industry where they seem to always be struggling to just reach their bottom line. They have to make sure that, it's harder for new and different things to
it's probably too risky. If I'm seeing it from their point of view,
right?
They know, all right, this works, so we need it to kind of fit this mold,
right?
Otherwise, we're not going to just start a whole new. You know what I mean?
Right. Unless
you've proven already. Exactly. I've got this hit, bestseller. Then they'll start to kind of.
Yeah. Or if you're a name that. Like I had a lunch with Kyle Strom like a few months ago. I think you know him. Mm-hmm. And he was kind of talking about how, the relationship with like Eric Stevenson at Image and everything. And if you're someone like Scotty Young, Scotty Young can go to Eric Stevenson and be like, okay, I want to do this project and I know this guy, I vouch for him, and boom. There you go. It's like when your name gets to that certain level.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's just, then they feel like they will get, their due, but, which is just.
But most, even if you're in the door or whatever you want to call it, most are not that level of a name.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you're just getting what you can get.
Yep.
So. Yeah. So, or at least that's what I've been seeing. That's maybe other people have a different story. I don't know.
So, what was the leap to Dark Horse? Was there a reason why you didn't go with Ad House again, or was Dark Horse just happened to be the right fit, or how did that happen? How did you happen to be published by the same people who published Mike Mignola?
Well,
that's got to make you sleep well at night.
But like I said, you'd be shocked what weird, like, oh, this person, so this person, so they were able to see it. And if you didn't do that, it had nothing to do with how good it was. it's like just doing it the right avenue, but the avenue is not, it's like it's covered in brush and you're walking down the path in the forest that was, cleared.
Right.
There's signs, and that's not the way.
Right.
That never leads you, sadly, as crazy as that is. I guess that's how I'll answer it. Like, and I'm learning more and more that that's how things are. It's not by the book. I don't know. And again, this could just be my experience. It could be, this is just, maybe down the road it'll be different, or I don't know. But
from the people I've talked to, I mean, it sounds accurate. So I think that's kind of the way that it is. It's,
you can be doing everything right, and it won't.
Right.
Because no one's seeing it.
Let me ask this. So, well, Static is great. Static's fucking great.
Thanks.
I love Static. And what I wish I had in my pocket was someone like, is it Carlos Padilla?
Yeah.
To do color. So, when I look at Freak and I look at your work, and it's almost like I almost kind of compared it to, yes, I analyze your work this much. Do you remember like Keith Giffen's work specifically, like on some stuff in like his drawing on like Lobo or Trencher from Image? Insanely detailed, like it's almost, yeah. Well, if
I saw it, I probably,
yeah, you probably know it if you saw it, but just so insanely detailed and wild that it would almost make a colorist panic looking at it. So how did you find Carlos? Did Dark Horse set you up with Carlos? Or okay? So it was because I was wondering, did you submit it fully finished, or did you have a concept in the drawings and stuff, and then they set you up with a colorist that would work for you? Because it seemed, I don't know if you were happy with the coloring job, but I thought it worked really well.
Seeing it in print definitely made a difference, but also I'm actually partially colorblind.
Oh.
So I think that kind of affects things.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, once I saw it in print, I was really happy with it. I'm like, oh wow, it was different from on the computer, like a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but it just really pops, and a lot of it's kind of like fluorescent almost.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the pink and the stuff like that, but what was the question?
Well, that was it basically.
Oh, okay.
Just how you kind of
they just
landed with okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if like Image, you have to have the whole thing fully shopped, right? So I didn't know I think Ad House is kind of like you have to have the thing done and you just submit it. With Dark Horse, I didn't know if it was kind of like, okay, you can pretty much pitch a good portion, but they're gonna shop some of this with you a little bit and help create the product, which is very interesting.
If they see that, I think it's case by case. Like if they see, all right, yeah, this is cool, we kind of like this, and then they might, they know colorists obviously, so they might pair you up with somebody. But I think it helps the more you have figured out, though. Like if you already have someone, then it's less work for them. All right, we can see what this is already.
Yep.
It's less of a gamble or less of a guessing game as to what this thing is we're agreeing to publish.
Right.
So, but I did have the first entire issue done, so that definitely made a difference.
Oh yeah.
And which isn't, again, it's not what they tell you. They tell you, 5 pages, and no, I would recommend to anyone trying to submit stuff, have at least the first issue done. Mm-hmm. Because they're taking a gamble on you, and so the more you have, you can just show them look, this is what I want to put out there. I just need you to say yes. So
Right.
the more even if you have the whole thing done, that's even better. Because at least if it's a no, you don't have to wonder like, if only I showed them more pages or more of the story, or they said no, it's a no, I guess.
Right.
So, but if you only do 5 pages, they're kind of guessing a lot of it.
Sure.
And I even remember doing those submissions back whenever I was doing that, and like you'd have to pick what pages you're going to show. Like, do I do action pages? Do I do them in order? Do I do like maybe one action, one talking to show that I can do both?
Right.
But then they're not in order. Is that going to confuse them?
Right.
It's all this unspoken. Whereas if you just give them the whole first issue, there's no confusion. You've shown a lot, which I think can only help you.
Yep.
And then if it's a no, well, at least you know you tried your best.
When I decided to finally start jumping in and doing this, took me decades to get the courage. I was listening to the Cartoonist Kayfabe channel a lot while I was working, and I remember Ed Piskor saying something when they were going through, I can't remember what they were going through, but I remember him saying, have the full first issue done before you pitch anything, and pitch the issue. It doesn't matter what their guidelines were. And that was huge for me. So I could just be like, okay, that's my barometer. I've got to get a first full issue done and complete before I try to do anything.
And it shows that you can do it.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they do the 5 and they're like, they're out of gas now. Like, because in the beginning, it really is, you need to build up that tolerance to be able to, or that discipline to do all those pages. It's not easy.
Yeah, it's not.
And then you're going to do other issues. So at least if you can show that one issue, it's like, all right, well, he did that.
That's the one thing I really had to learn. And if I ever had to, if there was any kind of course or series of videos or advice people ever have, is you have to definitely find a place where you're pushing beyond just, the joy of drawing some cool shit. Like, you have to have the discipline to sit at the table and just go, no matter how tired you are. And when you feel like you're even sick of the material, like, you just have to keep going.
But also, you have to learn to pace yourself too. Like, don't just, I've learned that, well, I don't think I've learned it. It's a constant figuring out what's best. Like, it's more about like a balance. Like, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So don't, if you're just dying to stop, okay, stop. Like, take a breather. You'd be shocked what 5 minutes of just sitting down and doing nothing can do for you.
Right.
Or, okay, you're getting hungry. Just eat something.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to. There's not a gun to your head. Like,
go for a walk or something.
Yeah. If you're feeling stressed out.
I had to take a break for a couple of months this year because I was, as you know, I'd pinged you. I was prepping for my first Comic-Con experience, which was in April. And I committed to myself, okay, I'm not only going to collect my first 4 issues of my series into a trade paperback and add extra material, but I also have 2 other comics that I want to have complete in time for Comic-Con. And I made this decision in September. And so, so my holiday period was nothing but a marathon, and I got everything complete in January in time for printing and everything. And my wife was just like, hon, you just need to just maybe take a couple months to just chill. You already have a full-time job. You're not having to live on this, and I'm only really just now starting to get back into it.
Recovering from it.
Yeah, it was a lot. I'm not going to ever do that again. That was a huge lesson for me, for sure.
Exactly. You can't overdo it, especially if there's not. I mean, it was a self-imposed deadline, but unless there's like a real deadline going, well, I kind of look at it like this, like, all right, this is what I'm doing. So I need to learn to do it in a way that doesn't kill me.
Yeah.
I need to find the balance so that, you know, like what works long term, not just in spurts of like 2 months of going insane and then, oh, I'm out of breath.
Yep.
I can't even get up now. Like, try to do it in a way that, you know, it's more of a marathon, not a sprint. So, because I've done that too. I've done that where I'm redlining. I pushed myself way too hard, too many hours in a row, and then you'll burn out like that. You will. It's not if, it's when.
Yep.
It's better to just, even like I've learned, there'd be days where I'd work up until when I'm about to sleep, and then I'd try to sleep and I couldn't. That doesn't work for me, at least. Like that's why I give myself at least like an hour to just, all right, let me just relax here. Like,
yep.
I just went from insanity to now I'm trying to just shut everything off.
Right. Yeah.
That doesn't sound right.
Yeah. Watch a show and relax or something. Or
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, breaks matter. There's a reason they give you a break at work.
Yep.
You're going to be able to do more if you can actually treat yourself right, not, working at this crazy pace it's not sustainable.
Yep. It's crazy how
it's not healthy.
Exactly. That's like the subject matter of physical health is like talked about more when I'm talking with artists than any other group of people that I've encountered. It's insane. Drinking, herbal teas, going for walks, like eating right. Because if you eat nothing but junk food too, you're not going to have the energy.
You're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. The healthier you can eat, or the healthier you can be in general. I hear all the time the whole like, oh, I got this deadline and I don't sleep, and well, how are you going to sustain that? Or the whole what is it? Where you just don't sleep at all nighter.
Oh yeah.
Like, I was on this page and then I decided to just not sleep at night, and that's going to catch up to you eventually. In 2 days you're going to crash. It's better to just, like I said, stay on a routine that works and makes sense. Get some sleep.
Yep.
And you'll get it done in 2 days, not the 1 day. What's the difference?
Right. Do you normally listen to music, podcasts? Like, what's your... Because I mean, as we talked before I hit record, we both were kind of like, how much are we going to get done by talking? Like, some people can do that and some people can't. So, I mean, you need virtually silence and no distraction at all. Is that kind of where you're at? Or
if I really can't focus, I turn everything off.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, maybe a movie, podcast, YouTube videos, just something to, I can set my mind on it, but I don't have to interact with it.
Right.
Like me talking to you and stuff, like I barely got anything done because I'm thinking about what I'm saying. I'm trying to like talk to you and stuff, but
yeah,
I've heard some people, they're in studios.
Yep.
With other artists. I do not understand that. Even in school, I could never focus because there's all these distractions around me. There's all these kids. This kid's throwing a paper ball. This kid's talking or flipping through things, and to me, that's half the job. Is literally trying to focus. I've gotten better at it, but that's part of the work. I'm finding is like, don't pick up your phone.
Yep.
Put on a podcast. Don't even change it.
Right.
Don't skip forward. This is what I'm listening to.
Right.
That helps because with the attention span, you have to do things to work on it, to try to, it doesn't just, it's not just, you're focused and disciplined out of just thin air.
Right.
And you're just good. You have to constantly be on top of it. Well, for me, I don't know. Maybe someone else is better.
I relate, man. Totally. It's hard not to get sucked into something like that and be able to just like put that phone aside or put whatever in and to have the tenacity to not get pulled into something else so easily. I get it.
And you have to not do other things.
Yep.
There's so much you have to sacrifice. Like, I mean,
so process-wise, you're obviously old school. I mean, you use old school materials. I don't see any Cintiq or anything in your. And
I
it
do
looks
have
like
one actually.
Have you use it much?
Never.
Yeah.
I used it for like a year, thinking maybe, let me try digital, and it wasn't for me.
Yeah. I can relate. So it looks like you're a Micron user and whatnot. Do you sling inks with nibs and brushes at all, or are you
No.
are you straight Micron? Do you use any
Mostly-
kind of brushes?
Just brush pens.
Mhm.
So, and then there's also these. Well, yeah, that's a brush.
Yep.
These are pretty good actually. The Micron brushes.
Yeah, I use them.
And then,
I also use the Pentel brush pens.
yeah, that's what I have right here.
Yeah, they work really nice.
And then these are really good. I don't know if you can see that.
Let's see, Mangaka Flexible Zigs. Okay,
And then
I'll have to try that out. I haven't tried those yet. Is that a brush as well?
it's like a marker brush hybrid.
Okay, cool.
Good. It's pretty good for like really bold lines. Like filling in, smaller areas. The occasional whiteout, even though it's not very good. Well, neither of these are great for me. There's this. It's like a gel pen,
Yeah, I've been told about those.
and then this is decent.
Oh, the Sharpie white. Okay.
Sharpie, and that's about it.
Have you tried Jelly Roll for whiteout?
No.
They're.
Is it good?
It's okay.
Oh, that's like the Bic style, right?
Yeah. You have to kind of
Shake it.
shake and dab
Yeah.
a little bit, but it seems to work fine for me.
That's kind of how this is too. Like you really have to get it going.
Yeah.
And then when I go to use it, it doesn't always, it's not very consistent.
Oh,
It's a little hit or miss.
yeah.
That's why I try to just not use it. Or, if there's a mistake, hopefully it's not too bad. I can just live with it. It's like, well, yeah, this is a drawing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hopefully it reads that way. Like,
I think
oh,
everybody.
yeah, he is drawing that. So he's not a robot. It makes sense that there's a line that just sort of.
Right. That's, and I'm not like knocking digital art because I've seen a lot of incredible, and I know a lot of people that do incredible digital art, but I always lean towards art that's handmade more because there's something about how polished things can get with digital art because you can erase anything that you don't like, but to see the struggle
Or undo.
Yeah.
Straight up undo it.
Yeah. I love seeing the struggle on the page. I love being able to like artist editions.
Yeah.
I wish I had, and maybe once my kids finally graduate and I'm an empty nester, maybe I'll have the money to like collect more artist editions so you can see the work that they had to put in it and see where they struggled with the whiteout.
Yeah.
But I always appreciate that. There's just more dimensionality and life in it. So
That's why when I was doing the digital stuff, I found myself getting weaker as an artist because any mistake I'd make, I would just if anyone's listening at this point, they're really gonna hate me. But
Never.
Again, this is just my opinion, but if you're doing it on the paper, you have to really do it.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you draw a hand that's too big, you have to erase it and draw it again.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting more reps in. You're getting more practice. Whereas with the Cintiq, I could rotate it, I could undo it, I could make it bigger, smaller, and you're saving time in the short term, but long term, you're doing so much less. And I found myself getting worse because also a lot of times with faces, I think we tend to favor a side. Like you might be more comfortable, facing one side, but then when, let's say there's a panel where they're facing the other way, you can just draw it the way you always are comfortable with and flip it. So you never learn the other way. Whereas on paper, you have to do it. So it's just, that alone made me quit. Like, this isn't good.
Yeah.
Because I need to be able to do this. This is the whole thing. It's drawing.
Yeah.
I don't want shortcuts. Shortcuts are bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even if you're some expert draftsman, you might make the argument that, oh, well, when you have a deadline, that will save you time and you're already great. So, but even then, you still need to hone those skills. You still need to keep practicing. You need to keep, you can lose it. So if you're continually taking shortcuts and you're continually just doing what's comfortable, you're going to get weaker. You're going to lose that. At least for me, you have to constantly keep those skills sharp. And just go off in the comments and tell me how I'm wrong.
No, yeah. And this is like no negatives on anybody that use digital art, and like there's some great stuff out there. This is like this is just a personal inclination and a personal feeling and perspective. And I mean, I do agree with you. I had one fella I met at Comic-Con, older guy, sweet as hell, who's been doing art for a long time and was trying to give me pointers and stuff. And as he was doing so, he got to this point where he was like, do you know how you really do this though, in order to save time? And I was like, oh gosh, here we go. And he was really, truly just laying out this process for me of finding images on the internet, photoshopping them all together.
What?
And then getting a light board or a light pad.
Yeah.
And just, tracing on top of it. And I was just like, but that's not fun. Like, what?
What's fun about that?
I don't.
Tracing.
I didn't say anything to him because I was, he's really like older guy, and it was just like, oh, cool, thanks. But in my mind, I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Because it was that whole thing that came to my mind. Like what you said is, I'm gonna lose. I'm not gonna strengthen myself.
Yeah.
How am I gonna push myself? I enjoy the struggle of having to face the problems that I'm actually facing on the page and having to fix it with my hands.
Yeah.
And work it with my hands. I don't want to. And plus, I can tell, because he showed me some of his stuff that was traced, and I can tell the life of someone who's like having to do it themselves versus what's traced. And anyway, yeah, we could probably beat this horse for a while.
And
I imagine.
Anytime they bring up, you save time. Well, it takes forever anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to. Actually, in the long term, I feel like like I said, short term, that might save you time, because I could just flipped it, problem solved.
Yep.
But long term, if you just learn how to do it, then you won't have to change as much.
Then you'll just be because eventually, if you're facing those problems now, especially since so awesome that you had the courage and tenacity to like be where you're at now in your 20s. I wish I would have done that, because I had this passion a long time ago and I was like, no, I can't do it, and I end up working. But like by the time you get to your 40s, you're gonna be like a Kubert or a Kirby, where you're just whipping it out, because you'll have like worked through a lot of those problems and solved those problems.
Maybe.
And man, every project that you're doing is just getting better and better. Like it's incredible. Again, I'm not trying to toot your own horn. Like you're a gem. You're a gem, my friend.
Okay.
So speaking of timing, because we're kind of getting to that hour point, I do want to hit on real quick. You said that, and I don't know if you can talk about it, but I've been seeing on Instagram your project that you're working on, which just looks zany as hell and fucking awesome. And I can't wait to get my hands on it. You said that you got a publisher for it. Can you talk about that at all? Or
no?
Yeah. Damn.
Sorry. It's too early.
Do you have a date when you think it'll be out?
Okay. Maybe end of the year.
Okay.
Because I'm only
be a perfect Christmas present for myself then.
Well, don't count on that. That's a guess. I'm on the issue 2, so
okay.
And I'm writing and drawing it and everything. So it's taken me, and there's no. Well, I don't want to say too much, but it's coming. It's on the way.
All right.
It's being worked on. At least one issue's done. So
nice.
But maybe this year. I don't know.
People can get a little bit more in detail of the work that you're doing on your Patreon, right?
Yeah. I'm posting basically the process for each panel. So actually, if people want to read the comic now as I'm making it, that's what the Patreon is. It's when I finish a panel, I post it. So you're getting it panel by panel, and then I'm also posting the full page scanned, but it's black and white, which
beautiful.
You can still read it.
I love black and white.
If they want color, it's not the full finished thing, but it's. And then I post. Maybe I can get a example. All right, here's kind of an example. I'm not going to show trying to crop out the lettering. Like here's, normally you can do 10 images per post.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Or per panel. So I'll just show a few. So here's an early stage of one panel. Can you,
mm-hmm.
Can you kind of see it?
Yep.
And then here's more of it.
Yes.
You're seeing kind of step by step. So I'm doing that for each panel. So you can kind of see how I'm doing it. I'm not
the way you draw folds and close, man. It's just, I love it. I love it so much.
And I think that's the end of the panel. But like for that one, I did 1, 2, 3, 4. I did I did 9 different. Like here's the pencils too. So
nice.
You're seeing from the very beginning to the end of the panel, and you get to obviously read the panel.
Yep.
And then even there's the speech balloon.
Nice.
You can just see the whole process. So patreon.com/MattDrawsComics for that.
Do it. Sign up, everybody. Sign up.
$3.
Yeah.
$3. And I post multiple times a day, usually. At least once a day. Well, not every single day, but It says it on there. Once you go on there, it'll say Matt posted 10 times this week, or so, and you unlock every post.
Yep.
There's like 1,000 images on there.
So you can check out everything in the quote unquote archives and older.
Right.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, everybody needs to go do that, and I can't wait to have your latest project in my hands, man. I'm not bullshitting when I'm saying I'm a fan. Right here at my drawing table is the commission that you did for me for my comic, which I look at every single day while I'm drawing. It's an inspiration. So I'm not kidding. This was amazing. So if anybody wants
Thanks for asking me to do it.
Yo, thank you. It came in right at the New Year, right at New Year, and it was just like this perfect end for the year and going into the new one. It was just,
that was the last thing I drew last year.
Yep.
The last thing.
Yeah. So if anybody wants that pin-up piece, it's in my latest comic, Simon Myth Chronicles #1. So I'm working on issue #2 right now and having a blast. I'm definitely seeing my art improve. I'm trying to push myself with each issue, and I'm kind of in that same place as you, where I got smart and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to push myself I've got to have an issue out and done. I'm just like, when I get it done is when I get it done. I want to get it done right, and I want to be healthy when I'm getting it done.
And when you do that and you look back on it, it's like, what was the point of that? Like, I could have spent a little bit more time. I would have been happier, and I would have been happier with the comic itself. Yep. So it's like, me rushing it isn't really doing me any favors. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing your latest work, man, and I really appreciate your time being here today. I
do have one issue coming out somewhat soon, I think. It's just a one-off thing.
Okay.
Matt Kint, he has a mind management kind of spin-off.
Really?
With it's a 4-issue series, and each issue has a different artist.
Okay.
And I did issue 2. So that's coming out. The first issue is coming out somewhat soon. It was announced, but I'll post on my Instagram and everything when it's like out or about to come out.
All right, good.
People are, looking to see more of my stuff. That's the most recent next thing.
Good.
Just the art, but yeah.
Still, gotta have a little bit of
my. I put a lot into that issue. Like, I spent like 2 months on that thing. On
Excellent.
20 pages.
Is it part of the whole mind management? Like,
yeah.
It's a
spin-off. It's a mini. It's called Mind Management Bootleg.
Nice.
And Farrell Dalrymple, he's doing issue 1, and I'm issue 2. So.
Cool.
I just remembered it should be coming out somewhat soon. I don't know when exactly.
All right. We'll be looking for it.
So that'll hold people over.
Yep, it'll hold me over for sure.
Did he quit comics? Did he? I actually drew that last year, like beginning of the year, and it's just now. I don't know what the long wait was, but
wow,
late to never.
It takes a while. By the time with my book publisher, by the time I write a book and get it to them, and by the time it comes out, I'm so far into other things, and I'm like, I have to remember, okay, what the fuck did I write? Like, and I have to talk about this again.
Yeah.
It's just like really tough. So I get it.
And you're like, I'm better than that now. I want him to see what I'm doing right now.
I know. That was so crappy. Such a long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. I really, really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much. I totally adore your work. So I'll have your contact information in the description and everything, so people can follow you, follow your Patreon and whatnot, and we can see what comes next.
Please do.
All right. Thanks, sir. And everybody, keep it psycho.